Three Omega Speedmasters commemorating the event that almost wasn't, the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, coming up. So if you've been watching Omega at all, you know that they have been timing the Olympics since 1932. That was the first games that any company was the official timekeeper and timed the entire Olympics. And they've been at it for a long time. They come out with a lot of special commemorative editions for the Olympics. They do the Winter Olympics as well as the Summer Games. But this is really interesting because this is for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. And the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, I'm sure you know, it was discussed canceling it altogether because of the COVID-19 pandemic. They eventually decided to just postpone it for a year, which cost billions of dollars. They had to maintain all the facilities for a year and reschedule everything, but they eventually had the Olympics in 2021. Interestingly, they still called it Tokyo 2020 just because there was so much branding and marketing and logos and everything else that was around it. These watches came out in 2019 as the ramp up to part of the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. So you can see it's got a special box, Tokyo 2020, a lot of extra kind of ephemeral things here that go with them. But they're really interesting. They did 5 different Speedmasters to represent the 5 different rings of the Olympic flag, and one for each color. So we have all 3 of the stainless steel ones here. The other 2 were steel and gold combo. We don't have those at the moment. But having these 3 at the same time was really unusual because these were launched specifically for the Japanese domestic market. So they were only sold in Japan as part of a JDM collection. They're very limited. There were only 2,020 of each one made. And of course, they're numbered on the back. These are all either unworn or mint with all the box and papers and everything with it. So give us a call, see if we've still got them in stock. I think they're absolutely stunning Speedmasters. A couple of them are sort of derived from some previous limited edition watches. And so it's neat that they made them in these combinations in particular. When you look at them, the Panda version here, this one is very reminiscent of the 2003 Mitsukoshi edition, which was only sold at the Mitsukoshi department stores, and there were only 300 of those made. So they're very, very hard to get your hands on. There are a lot of Frankenstein watches out there where people have put together dials and hands and things to try to recreate the look of the Mitsukoshi. But here we've got one that's 100% factory original and made this way from Omega. So a lot of the interesting features about these watches, they really sort of position them as a premium Speedmaster. They do feature the sapphire crystal. The dials themselves are really a premium because the hour markers are raised. They're applied batons. The Omega logo is also applied. The edges of the dials sort of drip down and the subdials are dished. And you get a little bit of splash of red from the end of the chronograph hand and the word Speedmaster. But beyond that, the case is classic Speedmaster. It's just like the moon watches with the lyre-shaped lugs, the same exact features of the case, the tachymeter scale. The bracelet is really a premium Speedmaster bracelet because it does have the double trigger release and a really nice machined clasp. But it has an extra feature here, which we've previously seen on the Seamaster, where it has a button here you can press, and you can actually slide this in the clasp to get about another 9 millimeters of adjustment with no tools. The case backs are sort of sandblasted, printed with the Tokyo 2020 logo and the limited edition number that each one has. So here's your chance to get the Panda. This really is probably the best looking Speedmaster I've ever seen. So you should definitely jump on that if it's still available. This one is very reminiscent of the 2005 limited edition watch that Omega came out with for the 40th anniversary of Gemini 4. Now, Jonathan and I were just talking about this pronunciation. Of course, we all know that the pronunciation of the astrological sign is usually Gemini, But if you look back at NASA's training films, their press releases, every single footage that you see from NASA, they called this series of missions between Mercury and Apollo Gemini, like Gemini Cricket. So we're going to call it that since this is reminiscent and tribute to the Gemini 4 mission. We'll call it that. But that came out in 2005 for the 40th anniversary, not available anymore. So this is great that we have this one from the Tokyo Olympics. So this represents the blue ring of the flag. Again, you've got the similar dial design with the raised markers and the applied Omega logo, the same bracelet, the same sort of case back. It's just a great look, the combination of blue with the red accents. You really could never go wrong with that. Now this is the one that's probably most unusual because it's not reminiscent of a previous limited edition. This one Fratello has nicknamed the Rising Sun based on the red circle and the Japanese flag. And the dial on this one is particularly interesting. It looks like a platinum dial because the way it's sort of media blasted and it sparkles. It's just an incredible look. And we see this before on Omega Platinum dials and Rolex Platinum dials. This one is not platinum, it just looks that way, but it's got the really interesting red bezel and all the same features as the other two. So give us a call. Hopefully we still have these in stock and we'll be happy to help you out and put one on your wrist from Swiss Watch Expo.